how you want to think about it. Make sure, let's see, it's supposed to be live on YouTube. Let's find out if that's actually happening or not. Sorry, technical difficulties here. Let's see. It's not, we're not picking up on YouTube. Okay, well, that's okay. Oh, you know why we're not picking up on YouTube? Because I didn't start the stream. That would be why. Or maybe I did. Okay. Well, I mean, it's fine. I'm here, which is what's important. That's weird. Been having weird streaming problems lately. So it's interesting to know that it's not just Facebook. Okay, I'm on Facebook. All right. But not YouTube, apparently. Oh, wait, there we are. There it is. It just took a minute. Okay. So I'm bringing this up so I can watch in case there's any comments in the chat because I missed that the last time. So I apologize to anybody who was watching me on YouTube the last time because I wasn't paying attention to the live chat over there. So y'all are going to help me this morning. I have a sample project to make for a potential either class or make and take at my vendor space. So I'm making this to see how long it takes me. And then I can decide if it's a make and take project or a class project. So I meant to print out a picture of what it is, but it was a wooden board with 3 paintbrushes glued to it. And on top of the bristles of the paintbrush were flowers. It was really cute. So we're going to do this using a, what is this? Cutting board. This was wood. I painted it white this morning already. And I'm going to add a little design on it. I'm going to use this Music Notes Chalkature Transfer just to give it a little background. And then I have my paintbrushes and my florals. I need to pull this table over closer and my glue gun. I think I have everything. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. And I'm going to angle this down so you all can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take my transfer and open it. And because I just painted the cutting board this morning, I am going to put a little surface wax on it. I don't typically use the chalk surface wax unless I am chalking on paper. I've gotten to the point where I can sort of fuzz a transfer enough that I don't need it. But if I'm gonna chalk on top of a painted surface, it works better if you let it sit for at least 24 hours. Let that paint completely dry and cure. And since I didn't decide until this morning that this is what I was going to do, I didn't paint this until this morning. So just to make sure my design stays and doesn't lift up any of that white paint, I'm going to use the surface wax. So you just put it on with the applicator. And and make sure I get some of the excess off the side there. And then technically you're supposed to let it sit for a couple of minutes. I never have patience for that. Then you just kind of buff it off so you get off any excess so that it doesn't clog the negative space on your transfer. And then I usually store these in the bags that they come in, try to keep it from drying out. It's really hard to get that surface wax off the applicator once you've used it. So I try to do that so I can reuse it a couple of times, and then usually I have to just use a new one. Hello, hello. We've got somebody over on, hey Samantha, hi Allie, how are you both doing? If you want to hop over and join me on Whatnot, you've got that QR code there. Did I lose my live feed? Nope, it's there. Okay. So you've got that QR code up in the screen there on the YouTube screen. If you all want to hop in to Whatnot, totally fine to stay on Facebook or on YouTube. Either way. So we're going to take this is the Music Sheets transfer that came out this year. I can't remember if it was in January or if it was in the spring collection. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my fuzzing cloth, and I'm going to pull this up a couple of times, and what this does is it gets some of that sticky off the back. So this is a silk screen transfer with mesh in the negative space, so think like a stencil, and it's adhesive, it's sticky on the back so that it stays on your surface and doesn't move around on you while you're using it. But you want to take some of that off so that when you pull the transfer up off your surface, you aren't pulling up any of your paste, or in the situation of this surface that I've painted, any of that actual paint. Do this a few more times and that should be good, especially because I've put surface wax on this board. And then we're just going to lay it down. And smooth it out. Oh, no, I'm going to go up a little higher because I want it to cover the whole thing. There we go. Okay, that's good. Actually, I'm going to go all the way up to the top of the board because the bottom is going to be covered a little bit by the paintbrushes. Okay. So you could do this with any kind of design. I thought about doing a floral design, but then I decided I wanted something that was a little bit more, a little bit different. Of all the things I forget, I didn't grab a squeegee. Sorry. Forgot my toolbox. Was running through everything in my head and did not grab that. So I just want this to be very faint in the background, so we're going to use this dark gray. I'm not going to use a spring color or anything like that because I don't want it to contrast at all with the flowers that I'm going to use. Just want this to kind of blend in the background. So there's two grays. There's what's called greige, which is basically the gray version of beige. That's a very light gray color, really very pretty. And then there's this, which is storm. So I opted for this to be a little bit darker, mostly because this surface is going to be covered quite a bit with the paintbrushes and the flowers. So I wanted it to stand out some. But like I said, I didn't want like a bright spring color because I didn't want it to contrast with the flowers, which I haven't even really decided what flowers I'm using, but we'll get to that. I'm going to just put the paste on. And again, if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, hello. Trying to kind of monitor the comments on all the platforms, but you should have a QR code in the upper corner of your screen that if you want to come over and watch on Whatnot, which is where I'm actually streaming from, you can. And if you have questions on any of the platforms, put those in the comments. If I see them when I'm live, I'll answer them. If I don't see them live, I promise I will go back afterwards and answer any questions anybody has. Cover this up. There are several of these music sheet transfers. There's one that is Silent Night. There's one that is America the Beautiful. I'll be honest, if this one is an actual song, it's not identified on the transfer. So I'll have to ask if anybody knows that. If I knew how to play piano or anything and actually had one, I would try and figure it out. But we're going to lift this up and drop that in my water. I've got a water bath off to the side here so that I have something to put my transfers in right away. Turn this around so y'all can see it. So we just got a little bit of that design on there. And then I'm going to put that off to the side for a second because when I knew I wanted to test out this project, I didn't really have time to go on a hunt for used paintbrushes. We had one, and I'm just going to use this one because this is just a sample. So I bought a pack of inexpensive ones off of Oriental Trading. But we're going to distress these a little bit because that's kind of the look. They're supposed to be, this is supposed to be like something you can do to recycle paintbrushes. So I want that look for it to be sure, again, that I kind of like it. If I decide to do this as a class, I am going to go on a hunt for old paintbrushes. But I know that if I have to, I can do this. So we're going to take my gator sander and I'm just going to try to scuff this one up a little bit. I might have to get a tougher grade of sandpaper to do this. So that's something just for me to remember when the time comes. So I like this little gator sander. It comes with a package of these little strips that'll pop on here, and it has different grades of sandpaper, different grits of sandpaper, so you can do kind of what you need to. That's interesting. That is not doing anything to that, so I probably would need to get a coarser grit. But then we're going to take some Tim Holtz Distress ink. This is Vintage Photo, and my little dauber. And I'm going to get some of the ink on this and then just run it over the paintbrush. And then what I could do is like splatter some paint on it so it looks like it's used. the goal is just to kind of distress it just a little. And if I decide to do this as a class or a make and take, and this is my sample, then I want people to be able to see that we're, you know, creating something that has a distressed look on the paintbrushes. So this distress ink is great for that. You can also use gilding wax or chameleon wax. But I like the distress inks. And I use this vintage photo a lot for that because it's a nice brown. Okay, so that's good. I'll show you guys what those look like. So that's what they look like. Not sure if you can see that very well. I need to do something on my phone real quick. There we go. That's better. So you can see, you know, we've got that kind of distressing on there. And then this should be dry. Okay. So we're going to glue these onto the cutting board before I add the florals, because that way I am better able to manipulate the paintbrushes and not mess up my florals. I'm going to show you all a trick that I just learned. If you use a glue gun, one of the biggest things that will be a pain is stringy glue. If you take a little bit of Vaseline and put it around the nose of your glue gun, that actually helps with string. Who knew? One of my, somebody who's on the same chalk couture team that I'm on posted, we have a messenger chat on Facebook, and she's like, has anybody ever tried this? And I was like, no, but I will. And I was doing a project with glue the other day, and at the last minute remembered, pulled out the glue, put the glue on, put the Vaseline on there before you turn on your glue gun. That's all I'm saying. And tried it, and it worked. So I was pretty excited about that because I don't often have a lot of patience with my glue gun, and so I will end up with a lot of stringy glue because I don't let it get hot enough. And some of it depends on the quality of the glue. I do use Gorilla Glue, but you have to be patient and let it get hot enough, which I don't often do. And that actually worked. I was pretty excited about that. So I'm pulling out, I can't see, I'm pulling out flowers out of my box of flowers over here. And this could work for any season. And I was thinking today, you could, instead of attaching the paintbrushes with hot glue, you could attach them with Velcro, and that way you could make a set of paintbrushes with fall flowers or even winter flowers and just swap them out. This is also pretty simple to recreate, and then you could put a fall design on the back or a holiday, seasonal design on the back, and have one that you use for different seasons. There's a lot of ways to do that. Alright, so there's that, and I'm gonna need my tin snips. Sure, in here somewhere. How is everybody this morning? It is finally getting nice here in central Illinois, which I'm very excited about. And while I'm waiting, let's check Facebook. Just want to make sure I'm not missing comments or questions as well. Okay. This thing has been taking a while to heat up lately. I'm not really sure why. It's a really good glue gun. Oh, that would be why. It wasn't on the thing all the way. So this is my glue gun. I use a Sure Bonder, and it has a base. And the base is what it connects to heat up, and it wasn't on the base all the way. Hello, Kenzie 2003. Thank you for joining this morning. How are you? I am working on a sample project for a potential class or make and take. I'm kind of trying to time it out and see if it could work as a make and take, and if so, like how much I would have to do beforehand so that it would just move along fairly quickly. Feel like this might be more of a class project than a make and take, just because there's a lot of moving parts. So we are going to figure out where I want to glue the paintbrush, because I'm going to glue it at the top, I think, because that's really where I get a flat piece that will truly connect to the surface. So we're going to put the glue on there, hold that down. Yep, okay, that's good. All right. So I'm going to do the other outside one. I didn't tell my husband I was stealing one of our paintbrushes. This was the only 1-inch paintbrush we had. Hopefully we won't have need of it to go get a new one and replace it. Oh, well, that's okay, because I can move that over. Now, ideally, when I do this as a class, I won't have all the paintbrushes on the handles will be the same color. But again, this is just a sample. And we could paint all of these paintbrushes, the handles, to be whatever color anybody really wanted. So that could be something, if I do it as a class, that would be an option that I could easily offer to people. So we're going to put this one down in the middle. And I was trying to decide this morning on what kind of surface I wanted, and I like this cutting board because it has the hole in the top here. If you're having trouble seeing from the comments, if you swipe left, if you're on Whatnot, that'll make the comments go away, by the way. I didn't know that until a couple weeks ago. But I'll hold this up in a minute. Okay, yeah, those are good. But you know, the cutting board has this hole in the top, so you can easily string something through that to make this hang. But it's a nice broad base, so it would stand or lean against something pretty easily. Okay, so there we are so far. So we've got the paintbrushes on the cutting board. And now we're going to start gluing the flowers to the paintbrush. I'm trying to figure out how I want, like what kind of flowers I want and how I want to do that. So we're going to start with pieces that have a little bit more greenery attached to them. I have my tin snips here. Cut these. I need to go back and look at the picture that this inspiration came from. Because the other thing I'm thinking would be really cute is, and I might still be able to do it, is once you glued the flowers down, then you cover the metal pieces on the paintbrush with ribbon. Now, gluing florals to anything is always interesting because of just where do you put the glue to get it to stick. So this is kind of a, I don't know, I want to say trial and error. It's not really that. And I'm also wondering if gluing the florals together first and then gluing them on the paintbrush might be a way to go. So that's something that I can try. But you just kind of gotta glue the florals and stick it and hold it until it stays, and then you just keep layering, and then eventually, like, all the flowers glue together. I could also put the glue on the bristles of the paintbrush and then attach the florals that way. This is definitely one of those, like, you're probably gonna burn yourself at some point, because you have to kind of push the flowers down into the paintbrush. And so on this, I'm gonna have to come down underneath this pink daisy. So this is, you know, what it looks like so far. But I'm gonna have to come down underneath that pink daisy with smaller flowers so that that stem gets covered and that the whole paintbrush gets covered. Now I could add a couple of more of those pink daisies underneath it too. Let's see if I can bend that down a little bit. So putting the glue on by going onto the brush seems to work pretty well. So we're going to add some more daisies onto this one carefully. Kind of bent them down a little so it would potentially fit underneath. And then if I do this for a class or make and take, I'll have, you know, a pretty good variety of florals for people to pick from so they can kind of tailor to their own color scheme or what kind of flowers they like. Try to bend that a little bit more. Obviously, I would have to make sure for a class that I have multiple glue guns so that people can, when we get to this part, got everybody going at the same time. So I've got that. And then I need to put a little something else over here, but I want to do a different color. Use this white one. Could also do the florals and wrap them. So like I could take some burlap or ribbon and wrap all the florals in burlap or ribbon around the stems and then glue it that way That's another way you could give the project some extra color, extra sort of personal flair for whoever's making it. And the sample, ooh, that might need some more Vaseline on that, getting strings. The sample that I saw, all of the bristles were covered. You could not see any of the bristles. So that's what we would be kind of going for here. I'm going to add some to the side. And I think I would want more what was that? More pieces that looked, you know, possibly like lavender, things that, flowers that don't just have one bloom on a stem, because that's going to take up more space. Hello, hello. That's going to take up more space on the paintbrush and cover more of the bristles. So more things like this as well too that have this greenery, because that takes up more space. Or I've got these. I should throw some of these in there too. I've got these. So we're going to add some of this to this other side. Oh, I forgot that I had that little yellow stuff on there too. So for folks that just joined, I'm actually working on a sample. I teach classes and do make and takes at a local plant store. I'm in Central Illinois, and I have vendor space at a local plant store, and so I teach classes there. And when they have events, I do make and takes. And I saw a picture of something similar to this on Facebook and wanted to see if I could potentially teach this as a class project or do this as a make and take at an event. So I wanted to try it out, see how long it takes, see how many moving parts there are, help me figure out, is it class potential? Is it, hello, hello? Is it make and take potential? Definitely leaning towards class as opposed to make and take. When people come to events and opt to do a make and take, they usually want something that's going to take, 10 minutes or less. This is not that. I could make it that if I did a lot of the prep work ahead of time. And where really all people were doing was gluing the florals onto the paintbrush themselves. But that, and I'll talk to the store owner as well as the other woman that works there. They help me think through things, and I have a class in March. It is March. I have a class in a couple of weeks. I could actually take this and ask people in the class, hello, hello, what they think. But the more I do ahead of time, the less people have choices of what they want to add themselves. So like if I pick the background design on the cutting board and I, glue on the paintbrushes, all they have left to do is glue on the flowers. Now that might be okay. Sometimes as a creative, I think I go too much in wanting to give people options because I want options. But I know some people like to do these kinds of things, but they get overwhelmed by the options, which I also completely understand. So sometimes if I limit those options and be like, okay, you have this, this, or this, that actually kind of works better for people. So I will ask Madison and Heather, and I'll actually take this up to my class in a couple weeks and ask people in the class, like, how would you prefer to do this? That's not to say that I couldn't do it as a class and as make and take either. I could definitely do both. I think I am almost done here, at least for purposes of getting a sense of what this takes. It needs a little bit more to be able to completely cover all of the bristles. So I can add that in. Ooh, glue off to the side there. Okay, I'll turn this around so you all can see it. So this is essentially what it would look like finished. Again, there's still, like, I would want to find some little bitty teeny tiny flowers that I could maybe put down here, because you can still see some of those bristles, and I would want the bristles to be completely covered. And then you've got the hole in the cutting board here where you could string something through, and so you could hang it, or lean it up against something. And then I opted just for music notes on this background for the surface, but you could leave it blank. You could paint this whatever color you wanted, or you could use a different kind of design back there. But that's kind of what the original looked like. Not completely. I could also add some flowers on the back to cover these bristles that would maybe fill it out a little bit. I would want some stuff that would be flat, or just add some of the greenery, so I could come along with like some of these pieces of greenery and just attach them to the back there to fill that out. I might have to think about that. So, okay, so that's that. So that was today's project. Kind of cute. A little bit different look than the inspiration, but that's kind of the point. It always has a little bit of different look than whatever it was that inspired me. All right, so I'm going to bring this up. Okay, so thank you all for being with me this morning. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get into a regular schedule of being on live to create once a week, and then really need to do a sales show. I have so much craft stuff, supplies to destash. There comes a point where you're like, I'm not going to use all this, and somebody else might use it. And I've got some other, like vintage, rusty, crusty kinds of things that I don't think I'm going to use that other people might. So I'm working on that. So I will see you all the next time. I really appreciate you being here with me. Let's see who is out there that we could raid into. I always like to do that. So let me find, ooh, here we go. All right, so we're gonna go on a raid. So you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate you being on, and I will be back next week. Bye.